Fight for baseball. Thank you, Herb. Good evening, everybody. And I used to love that stuff. And him and Herb, I mean, that's who I grew up with. And now you have Tom Hamilton, of course, today, who's the absolute best in the business. But I knew I'd eventually want to evolve into sports. And soon enough, I moved away from the news area and began to culture a career in sports, as well as becoming a disc jockey.
Who coined the name?
Scott Kennedy.
Just to introduce you, more or less?
He was doing news. He goes, I like your personality. I like your character. I think you could bring something to my morning show. That was a big deal back in the late 80s. And he goes, I'm going to have you start calling in. I'm going to call you Mr. Sports, and you're going to do sports reports. And they became comedic. They became informative and comedic. Because, Gary, I was absolutely... you remember me back in my young days. I was out of my mind. There wasn't anything I wouldn't do. And I got in trouble a few times, by the way. But Mr. Sports is calling. It became a popular segment, and soon I moved into a full-time co-host role, and I kept the name ever since. I'll go to my grave with that name. It's okay. I'm cool with it.
Well, I don't know which way to go with you here. With so many different angles, you did a lot in radio.
Oh,
You did sports as well.
I did high school football, high school basketball. I was in so many different arenas and tournament games. John Caparanus and I were two of the biggest AM sports announcers.
Still going along.
Yeah, Cappy's still doing the job.
1440 or somewhere, I think.
Yeah, we have so many great sports announcers, not just in the state of Ohio. You talk about Hamilton, Keel down in Ohio State, but also locally.
In this area.
Jim Campbell's been doing it forever. He does a superb job, and I respect all of these guys. But you have your own taste and your own flair in the way you do things. I think when I go into it, you know what it's like because you've covered sports. I'm a prep freak. The last high school football games I did, I think for Coach Kemp, I covered the Mooney and Ursuline state championships from a few years ago. One was being played in Massillon Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, and the other at Canton Fawcett Stadium. And Scott came to me, Kennedy, and he said, hey, I need you to cover for Caparanus. He's sick. I'm like, Scott, I haven't done high school football in years. He goes, you got it. It was 2 days before the game. At that time, I couldn't have told you a single player on the team. By game time, Gary, I could tell you what every kid ate for breakfast. In 48 hours, I prepared that diligently.
That's your talent.
I love doing it. I love doing sports. Getting an opportunity, you want to talk about a big thrill. 1999, we get the Mahoning Valley Scrappers in here. And we have CC Sabathia on the roster, became a future Major League star, of course, with the Indians and the New York Yankees. And Victor Martinez is on that team, and Ted Kubiak, who I watched as a kid perform on the world champion Oakland A's as a utility infielder, is the manager. And they picked me to do the Scrappers games. And here's a true story that I've never shared with anybody. They come to you at the time, like, you've done a lot of baseball, right? They just assume. I said, oh, yeah, I've done a ton of baseball. The only baseball I had ever done prior to taking over the Scrappers, which is a huge job responsibility, especially that first year, was in my grandma's basement in the 1970s. But listening, as a kid, I honed in on the likes of Joe Tate and Herb Score. I listened to Pete Franklin on 3WE Sportsline. I'm broadcast through 38 states and half of Canada. Everybody listened to Pete Franklin. He was absolutely amazing. Even locally, I listened to Jim Marzano on 1240 WBBW. You used to drive him crazy and win Indians tickets. But Kurt Gowdy, Vin Scully, Pat Summerall and Tom Brookshire and all of these great legends. And I was one of the few as a kid. Everybody wanted to throw bricks at TV set at Howard Cosell. I said, he makes Monday Night Football. And that was proven to be true after Howard left the broadcast. Don Meredith and Frank Gifford quickly faded out. Gifford hanging on with Al Michaels for a couple of seasons.
So locally, how did it work for you then, as far as this,
Well, the Mr. Sports thing came about, and it evolved into sports and a DJ opportunity. As I mentioned, years later, I got the Scrappers opportunity, and I'm very proud of that work along with Lou Bajak. Handled baseball like a charm. It was not a problem for me at all. Loved doing it, in fact. And Ted Kubiak and I became dear friends. In fact, if Ted were here right now, he'd say, John, let's sit down and have dinner and have a beer together. That's how Ted was. And just a wonderful friend. As far as other sports doing the high school scene, Youngstown State came about. And Y103 acquired the radio rights to do Youngstown State football broadcast. And the opportunity to work with Jim Tressel was a dream come true. And so many stories I could share about Jim that are,
And we had Bob Hanna on here earlier.
Oh, yeah. I worked with Bobby and Paul. Yeah, they were just super pros to work with. In the beginning, Gary, I was on the sideline, which I really didn't enjoy because I do like, again, I'm a prep freak, so I bring a lot of material to the game. And when you're on the sideline, you don't have as much opportunity to talk. So Bob and Paul would be doing their thing, and I'd always be, hey guys, I got something down here. Very first game though, I got in trouble. If I could share the story, we're at Western Michigan. I wanted to make a splash, and it's a true story. It's like, let's go down, and Hannah goes, let's go down the sideline, and Johnny's got something for us. I'm like, a lot of grumbling here along the sidelines amongst the YSU players, basically deeming it conservative play calling. Back to you. In about 2 days, I was with Joe Malmazer and Jim Tressel in his office being reprimanded. So, yeah, it could happen. I made a mistake. I should have done that.
But then you just evolved from there.
Yeah, doing what... And then I eventually got to go to the booth with Bob, which I really enjoyed.
Can you believe he's still doing it, you know?
He's amazing. I mean, it's just the ultimate professional and a funny guy, too. I mean, to know Bob Hannon, and you do, he will hold court. I mean, you could have 10 people at a table, and everybody's listening to Hannon and his stories he tells, and nobody tells them quite like Bob. But it was just a great experience. I got to do the pregame show. I recall vividly going to Huntington, West Virginia, home of the Marshall Thundering Herd, and beating them 17-5. And I tell you, Gary, one of the biggest honors that I had in the postgame, Tressel was on our radio station on Y103 and said, "You have the best pregame show in America," and that made me feel good. And I've often talked about him. I think in today's time, somebody that I look at and just think does a superlative job reminds me a lot of the way I used to do it is Denny Liebert. I've always loved Denny. I just think he's sick good. Denny, I'm telling you.
He's a great guy.
Oh, he's
and
awesome.
he takes no credit for his
Absolutely. I liked him when he was at 21. I just thought he had a flair and a dynamic about him
and
that was
he's a
unopposed.
prep guy, too. He knows what's going on.
I like the music he puts in the background. He's so smooth. I like people that are smooth.
In the Friday night high school post-game shows, It wouldn't be the same high school football without that on Friday night.
I never thought that Denny Liebert got the respect and the appreciation that he deserves because he really is a pro. He could have worked anywhere.
And I tell him that all the time, and he just, get out of
It's
here.
true.
Yeah,
it's true.
But you've had an interesting career in radio as well outside of sports. You met great people, great acts, music acts.
Getting to meet the sports celebrities, of course, was a big thrill. But also the rock stars.
Yes.
Being a DJ.
Like, give us some...
Aerosmith.
Do some name dropping.
Aerosmith. I mean, I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm back room with my ex-wife, and we're talking with the band Aerosmith. There's about 10 of us, and Steven Tyler and Joe Perry couldn't have been any nicer.
That's unreal, huh?
You're walking out there with Paul Rogers, and at that time, Capri Cafaro, before she got into politics, comes over to, "Hey, Mr. Sports, can you introduce me to Paul Rogers?" And Paul was so kind to her. Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon. And then I had moved over also to the Oldies circuit at Oldies 93 with Jeff Kelly, and he gave me the Sunday Night Cruise, and pretty soon we had people like Paul Anka and Little Richard and Leslie Gore and the Turtles and the Rascals, and those were groups that my mom honed me into from the 50s and 60s that I got an opportunity to listen to, and it was just a big thrill. I mean, honestly, coming from Little McDonald, Gary, if you could just imagine this, and if you'd have told me, you're going to meet all these people someday, you're going to interview most of them, and get to know some of them, I would have called you crazy.
Now, you're not saying you're best friends with a lot of these people, but you had relationships with them.
Oh, I did. I mean, a lot of them sent me memorabilia, which I still have. Signed thing, thank you. Greatest interview I've ever done. There was a group in the 1960s called Jay and the Americans, and Jay Black was the lead singer. And I was warned by the music industry and all the people I was networking with, Jay's tough. And he kept me chasing him for about 3 months, and I finally got a hold of him in New York. And he called me back, and he swore half the interview. So I had a massive editing to do. A bit of an ego, saying he was a group and everything, but a dynamic singer. And Jay told me at the end of the show, he goes, "Man, I'll tell you what, buddy, you do a heck of a job." And I think what made me also feel good was that these oldies artists were saying, "Thank you for keeping our music alive." Because a young guy like you, which I was at the time, bringing these guys back into the spotlight, and I was able to do that.
Why are you not in radio now?
That's a good question.
Is that something you like to address?
Yeah, well, I'll talk about it. My phone's not exactly ringing off the hook, and the job offers that I did receive in media, it's hard when you work 27, 28 years in an industry and you earn a status level and also a financial level to go back and do it for a third of that price. But is it in my heart? Absolutely. Do I think I can get on the radio tomorrow and make an immediate impact? There is no question. No doubt about it. I've done that my whole life. I don't care what challenge you throw in front of me. And that's why you had Bob Hannon on earlier. Bob takes a United Way job, and you're hearing buzz on the street. Well, Bob's just a sports announcer. You know, he does YSU football. He's not qualified to head up something like the United Way. Well, how's he doing? It's about people skills. Jim Tressel, same thing at Youngstown State. Well, he doesn't have a PhD. He doesn't have the academic qualification. Well, how's Jim Tressel doing as your president at Youngstown State? It's the same way with me. People skills, being able to impact. I don't go there to be second best. Whatever task you put in front of me, I will self-critique it to the extreme, and I'm going to make it be the best. I don't care what it is. I've always been like that.
So you have a little gig on the side now.
Yeah, I started a Mr. Sports, cable sports talk show. Gina Cardillo is the manager out there. Jim Davis and Ken Carano, a couple of Boston Town trustees, got me involved with that and wanted me to come back. And I've enjoyed it. And I had Bob Hannon and Dana Balish both on and did a superb job in show 1. I have my son on, and Andy Arnio in show 2. Josh Fitch is my regular guest, associated as the Falcons color commentator for the football games in show 2. And we have show 3 coming up with Dave Robinson, 2-time Hall of Famer with the Green Bay Packers, our 2-time Super Bowl champion and Hall of Famer with the Green Bay Packers, and also Mike Case from TV21 is going to join us for that.
Mike's a good guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy. And by the way, I got to tell you, see, I'm on his show. I come in and do his show. But it wasn't but a week ago I said, hey, Gary, why don't you come do my show? He declined. Here I am, though, doing his show during the World Series, by the way. What's the score?
No, we're losing.
Okay.
It's
never
only
mind.
game 2, but
keep
we're
rolling.
okay. But does it give you your fix or no? For now,
I want
temporary
more.
fix.
I want more. I'd like to get back. I think people ask me ultimately, what would you like to do? Sports play-by-play would be something that probably would be at the top of my list. A sports talk show would also be high on my list. I mean, a daily sports talk show. Because let's face it, you're going to make errors, and you want to be able to get, and you're going to change your opinions and everything. You want the opportunity to have a daily output on that and to change your opinions and to talk to callers. And without me talking to callers, which I don't have the luxury of now, I think that takes away a little bit from me and what I'm able to accomplish.
But can it come to a point where you're doing too well at Greenwood to go back to do any of this?
I don't, there's
You need a car, here's the guy.
Well, thank you very much.
New, used, everything.
330-883-1039.
A salesman at heart.
No, I honestly, I never wanted to sell. I never sold a candy bar before I got in here. Greg really took a risk on me, and I think I've rewarded him. I've done very well in the 2 years I've been there. It's just I never liked asking people for anything. I never really did, and sales is about following up and stuff like that, and asking people for the sale. And but with people skills, I've been able to overcome some of the things that I didn't like. Would I go back to media? Ultimately, I'd like to continue to work at Greenwood and land a local media job, but that's been tough to come by, quite frankly.
Sure.
Do you want me to state it as it is? Do I think I'm better than some of the people that are on the radio? Unequivocally, yes. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But that being said, and I hear about it from a lot of people, I have a lot of longtime friends that are still on the air, and I do nothing but root and support them. And I took the high road on my way out. And, I felt for LeBron James in the NBA Finals when he said, I'm taking the high road after Klay Thompson. And, they attacked him.
They sort of
they
helped
did.
the cause.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't even know it.
And you could see it, Bob.
Yeah. Now, did you keep one eye on football, high school in the area? Or what do you do?
Well, I'm always going to follow McDonald, of course.
Okay.
Always going to keep up with what my Blue Devils do, and they're 5-4 this year. The team I'm hearing about more and more is the Warren Harding Panthers, and I lived in Warren for a couple of years, and they just had a great season.
Does the Harding-Howland game impact you at all? It's a big one this week for maybe playoff purposes. Is that a big?
I'm going for Howland because Greg Greenwood lives in Howland. All right, so that's why I'm sucking up to the boss. Boss lives in Howland. Go Tigers. But it's not going to be easy. I mean, Harding has.
But you grew up in a good Harding time period. You probably remember some of those.
Oh yeah.
Talents coming out of there.
Absolutely. Myron Elsie, if you recall him.
Yeah.
Coach George Kearney is a good buddy of mine, and I see Coach all the time. He's always with Myron. You want to talk about a giant of a man, and just a legend football star from the Warren area.
Are athletes good car salesmen? Does that help?
Chris Davis is one of our salesmen, former Fitch star, and played in the Big Ten with Michigan State. I think so. I think they have an advantage. Chris is. Have you seen this guy? I mean, he can bench press a dealership. He's huge. Great family. Chris Davis, one of my best friends out there, but terrific guy. No, yeah, absolutely. I think a lot like media, having played sports and everything.
Competitiveness.
Yeah, it's a big, especially if you did well. You know.
What's 5-year forecast for John
that's a-
Batcho, Mr. Sports?
That's a great question. Is it going to be media? Are you going to continue to progress in the car sales area? Honestly, Gary, at this time, I'm just taking it day by day. We'll see what happens. If I give it an opportunity to do something that inspires me in media, certainly it would be something I would strongly consider. But at this point, I just go by day, and I just know whatever, again, I'm going to do, I'm going to be the best at it. I have to be. It's what my dad was a football coach. I told you that. It's the way he raised me. It's like you don't go there just to be mediocre. You go there to be the best, and that's what I expect from you, and I've lived that way.
You have one beautiful daughter left in the high school.
High school, yep. Yeah,
Two already out the door.
Yep. And I have two sons. I have a 17-year-old at Ursuline High School. She's a junior. Lauren, she's doing very, very well. Very proud of her grades in academics. She's accomplished. I ran into Larry Kemp, the Ursuline High School football coach.
He was a guest on this show
yeah,
earlier in the year.
Larry's a great guy. I've known him
Great
for many,
guy.
many years.
Great guy.
Larry signed an Ursuline hat to Lauren. He goes, John, give us to your daughter. So I just thought that was really cool. I did. And you know Brian Fedeschi, who used to be a longtime coach. Brian's one of my dearest, best friends.
McDonald, longtime coach.
And then
Fitch.
with Fitch for a little bit. And Brian not coaching currently.
He's at Lowville, though.
He's the athletic director.
Yeah.
Out in Lowville. Got his hands full out there, and he knows. Sorry.
But media's been good to you, though, overall.
Oh, it has.
Great friends.
Oh, it has been.
Bob Hannon, Denny Lieber, guys we mentioned.
Oh, yeah.
Us, my brother, you and Chuck worked together.
You know, these guys came to me and asked me, I think it was it Mr. Sports World? I think it was Mr. Sports World for the Valley Playbook, which House 2 Publications ran for years, and Chuck was just a pillar of strength. He was outstanding. And when I would get the Valley Playbook, the first article I'd go to wasn't mine. It was
Crunch
Chuck's.
Time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Chuck.
Yeah.
And just a wonderful person. I can't say enough about you. I can't say enough about Chuck. I can't say enough about Ray. You guys are wonderful people. I love you all like family.
It's just fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what you're doing.
Nothing but respect for all of you.
Well,
and your brother had his golf outing. By the way, Bob Hannon is committed
you for
to
playing
golfing
it.
with me next year.
Well,
And
we
he
got
is-
on film, but until he shows up.
No, it's on film now.
Okay, and you were there, and we appreciate that as well.
Not a problem. Always support you guys.
Yeah. Well, that's John Batcho. He's better known as Mr. Sports. At least at one time he was. Now he's
still
better
Mr.
known as a
Sports.
car salesman.
Mr. Car Sales.
But if you want a car,
330.
what's on the lot now?
We got everything. We sell Silverado, Colorado in the new line, Equinox, Tahoe, Suburban, Cruise, Malibu, Impala. I can go on and on if you want.
Well,
Want
if
me
you
to?
don't like
I can go
asking,
on
I could ask for you. Give them the sell, right?
Thank you. Yep. I do work hard to make my customers happy because I know when people come in there, they hate coming into car dealerships, and you want to sit down and you want to be treated like family, and you want to get the absolute best deal. And I tell everybody when I come in there, I said I'm not a car salesman, I'm a disc jockey, and it puts them at ease. And I do mean that though.
And they walk out with the car.
A lot of times they do. Yes, I've done well there.
Thanks, John, for coming. Appreciate it.
Gary, love you, brother. Love ya.
We'll try to return the favor.
Gary House too.
And we'll be back with more Yards After Contact from Kelly's Bar on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown.
Hey, I'm John Batcho, formerly Mr. Sports. Come on out to Greenwood Chevrolet, 4695 Mahoning Avenue in Austin Town. 330-792-5252, or call my personal cell phone at 330-883-1039. Whether it's a Cruise that you want, or a Malibu, or an Impala, or if you're thinking about the truck line, a Silverado, or a Colorado. Maybe you're looking at an SUV like an Equinox, or something a little bit upper line, like the Tahoe or the Suburban. Come see me. I'll get you the absolute best deal. Everybody that sits at my desk, I treat you like an absolute family member. And for the young kids that are, budget conscious, I'm going to treat you like one of my very own. Come see me. John Batcho at Greenwood Chevrolet, 330-883-1039. And come see us at 4695 Mahoning Avenue in Austin Town. Greenwood Chevrolet is trust-driven.
Hi there, welcome to the Loop. What's be fine for you? There you go. Enjoy your game.
And welcome back to Yards After Contact from Kelly's Bar in Youngstown, Ohio. Boy, Ryan, Week number 9's in the books. Week's 10 ahead, as we said in the very beginning. The fastest 10 weeks on the calendar. It goes by like you don't even know it. And before you know it, we're here, looking at the teams. Still got a chance to make the playoffs. I guess that's what's left here in this season. Your overall thoughts on the campaign, how things have went? Any surprises? Anybody? Does it go pretty much as you thought?
You know, I think it was overall another great year of high school football. It's just like you said, it's the fastest 10 weeks of the year. Surprise to me, I think the success of a Hubbard was a surprise. Losing those guys, Struthers continues to be a surprise. But there's no surprise teams to me. Like Howland was no surprise. I'm surprised Howland had 2 losses to begin with the talent they had. But they really came together and righted the ship.